Hello and welcome to the Saving live stream on this 25th of January. Um, Second live stream where I don't feel too well, so I apologize in advance if I keep on rambling today again like last time. I hope it will be better in 2 weeks. But I'm not infectious, I guess, so Daniel, I think is still...
You don't seem to be.
Yeah, you seem to stay fairly well. I mean, he was coughing earlier today while telling me he's not coughing. And I'm like, yeah, sure, mate. Let me grab the camcorder and let me quickly record this just for your sake. No, but it seems like he's still okay. But if you have been, and I know some people have been sending in emails and I have been slow to respond, that's partly it. I try to focus on the stuff where I don't have to be friendly, I guess.
Friendly?
Yeah, I know. No, it's not that your emails aren't kind, but if you're or if you're in pain, your comments tend to be my comments tend to be snarky.
Yeah, Raphael tends to be hangry, so I was figuring out, is there like a connection to this? Is this called pain angry, pangry? Is there something like that? I don't know. If you think so, write in the comments. That's YouTube, right? That's how this works.
That's how that works, I guess. Yeah. But live chat should be good as well. No, I feel like we're the start in the new year was interesting, to say the least, and but it has been good so far. So, yeah, great. This is also partly the reason why we don't have a main topic for today. Also, questions on the Discord did not come in as frequently at the moment, so we'll see if you have live questions. But Daniel wanted to talk about DNS and about some of the stuff that is currently not strictly on the roadmap, but stuff we have been working on in the background for quite some time now.
Yeah, it's on a roadmap, like in a more vague and more openly minded thing, because we're not yet sure how to tackle it. And one thing, of course, is it's always DNS. And that's a thing that just seems to be happening, and like looking at support that requests that we get, there are weird things with DNS all the time. And DNS is just both a very simple thing, actually, but for some reason it turns out to be very complex in how it operates and affects services, and that's kind of where this saying on the internet comes from. It's always DNS, and like there's so many comics about that, so if you want to have a good laugh, just Google "it's always DNS," you'll find a lot.
Always has been,
or it can't be DNS, it cannot, it was DNS. So like the
that's
the common ones, yeah, that's a meme. So so what we've been thinking about here, okay, let's just start with like, how does Portmaster currently do DNS and why, to give you kind of the context on kind of to take you along here. Also, we're not, this is just us talking and like bringing ideas that we want to discuss with you, the community. That's not like a plan, roadmap we have. We're just kind of thinking loud, and we want to share that with you because we want to know what you think, and bring you along on this
development road journey.
Exactly. So, Portmaster. Currently, Portmaster is also a secure DNS client, which means it intercepts all these not secured, which means not encrypted.
But also the encrypted. It intercepts everything.
Well, it can't it kills the encrypted connection and is like, wait a second, please use something else. Or for example, for Firefox has a special mechanism where it checks if the network wants it to use secure DNS or actually does not want it. So Firefox did that for all the enterprise networks where they depend on having their own DNS running for the security. So what they did is they query a special name, and if that gets a special response, they disable security DNS in the browser because they started to kind of automatically enable that depending on the settings. So this automatic upgrade from resolvers, and that's also what Google has been doing, but Google does not offer it, like disabling it automatically through a DNS request, but Google says you have to do it through a group policy object which is a Windows management system for enterprises belonging to Active Directory and that area. So Portmaster intercepts not secured DNS requests and redirects them to itself, and then has its own DNS resolving system with caches and everything, and then asks the upstream DNS server to resolve that over a secure protocol, which are like DNS over HTTPS or DNS over TLS.
TLS is being the default.
Yeah, TLS is what we prefer. They're very similar. DNS over HTTPS is the one that has gotten a lot of attention the last years, but yeah, we're not going to go into different there right now. We're gonna keep it focused. So that means Portmaster is a full DNS client, and if we mess things up, things break. And apparently it's a lot easier to mess things up there. And I don't know how many iterations our resolver pod has gone through. I think 2 complete rewrites and many bug fixes, and I feel it's quite okay right now. So I don't feel pressure to rewrite it again at the moment because it seems to be working fairly okay. But still, there
across all platforms, of course, as well.
So, but there are people that are having issues, and especially.
It's not always clear if it's us. That's also true.
Exactly.
That's also true.
Exactly. So, DNS is a delicate thing, and it's also complex in how it interacts with the network interfaces your device has and everything. So, and it's also something that other programs would like to have their say in too. So, if you use a good VPN service, they usually bring their own DNS servers, and they want your device to use their servers, and that does make sense because you're already putting all your traffic through them. You do want to have your DNS queries go through the VPN, rebound to your ISP, eliminating much of what the VPN's worth is.
There would be a disconnect between who you are.
Yes,
they would still don't exactly know.
It's a bit better, but still you're killing quite some of the worth that VPNs have. Then we have the conflict of your VPN kind of wanting to do DNS, we wanted to do DNS, and then they have their VPN, their leak tests, which then don't show them you using there because you're using Portmaster's settings, and so
which is
there's quite a fight about DNS, and then not to mention antivirus, they do their whole shit too. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And we've been thinking about how can we improve this mess and improve compatibility with all sorts of software from VPNs to antivirus and stuff, and so that's kind of the wording we have on the roadmap, kind of to improve compatibility in that area. And the reason Portmaster is doing DNS, first of all, there are 2 reasons. One, because encrypting DNS is pretty cool, gives you security and privacy, and second, and
it's very easy with Portmaster. You just install it, and it is you don't have to do anything. The default is encrypted DNS, so it's a one-click solution for that.
Yeah, and it works well. It's in kind of within the scope of Portmaster, so it feels very natural to have it in there.
The problems start.
The problem starts afterwards.
Exactly.
So the second thing why Portmaster does DNS, because then we have better control over it, and we can see better where connections are going to, because there are connections that kind of tell you. So HTTP, for example, unencrypted, and still most encrypted HTTPS connections do actually in clear text tell everyone where this is going to. And of course, unencrypted is clear. It's obvious because everything's in there, everything's visible. But still, HTTPS connections like tell everyone who sees the connection where it's going to, because the server needs that to set up the correct encryption for the correct website, because every website has its own key. And if there like is a one huge server or reverse proxy or man in the middle as a service, they have loads of websites running on their servers, and they need to give you the correct key, or else the encryption will fail and you won't be able to access the website. So that's a required part. So this is going to be solved by TLS 1.3 to some extent, not all the time, but it's a step forward. Anyway, for a good part of connections, we don't have the information on the connection, where something is going to. So the only way to know where a connection is going to is to remember, oh, this process resolved a domain name to that IP address. Oh, and there's a connection to that IP address. So it must be that domain. And that's what Portmaster is doing in simplified terms. So we connect DNS requests with the actual connection, and then we know where things are going. So that's why it's important also for Portmaster to know the DNS requests that have been going on. And that's why we're doing it, and that's what we've put up with the hassle so far. And looking for options, how to increase compatibility means, is there a way how we can reduce our kind of takeover of DNS requests in order to play a bit nicer with other software and things going on the network.
Or at least give the option to reduce.
Or give the option, yeah, give the option.
Because Mike already said, and welcome Mike. Mike said he's grateful for Portmaster DNS, and he tells everybody to just use the default. And this is absolutely how you should be using it. We change the defaults if the defaults are getting worse. For Porter there, if you leave it on default, then you can assume that it is a good default. But yeah, so what we're thinking about, and we have a couple new people watching, it's those are thoughts that we have. We want feedback. Yeah, but we're
just thinking loud, just kind of trying to share where we're coming from, where we're thinking about going. So yeah, and of course, it's always, you always have a choice. Yeah. Right now, the choice is less, and we want to actually increase choice. Yeah. So right now, Security DNS module is enabled by force. You can't disable it because Portmaster requires this data. You can kind of work around it by pointing Portmaster again back to something else on your system, and then like going in circles. That works-ish for a couple people. But
it's not cool.
It's not optimal. Yeah. So what we're thinking about is there a way that we could make it possible to disable the Security DNS module for people that don't want it because it breaks for their setup or there's conflict in software, but still get the information we require to do the work in Portmaster. And it turns out there is a way, and we actually have a proof of concept for that for Windows. So we can actually hook into the Windows events system. So Windows has kind of an internal system where it kind of logs things that happen on the system to one central component, and we can hook into there, ask it to start logging DNS queries, and then send us that data. So there's still question marks and things to figure out, but we have a proof of concept that works. We can kind of subscribe to DNS queries going through Windows itself. So this would enable us to get that information from there instead of having to handle it ourselves and just kind of giving that part to Windows. Why is this an actual viable option today? And wasn't 5 years ago? Because today we have secure DNS built into Windows. So Windows can actually do secure DNS, can do DNS over HTTPS, probably also DNS over TLS. I didn't check exactly, I just saw the DOH configuration in there. So if there's an issue, you can also just turn off secure DNS in Portmaster and configure it manually in Windows to improve stability and compatibility with other software components that you're using.
Exactly. So it is a compatibility settings, and it is an advanced setting, of course, as well.
Yeah.
People who don't know what they do should not tinker around with it that much. And the goal for Portmaster still is to be easy and to be used by people who don't know too much. But we see that Portmaster is being used by very technical people as well, who are asking for this. And we, instead of trying to stay compatible with all their stuff,
and
which they're using, that you can do whatever, but reducing what we do is an option there as well, and hooking into stuff that Windows is doing anyway, providing good guides on how to do it. But the idea would be to not do it as default for most people, because
give you the freedom what parts of Portmaster you want to use.
Exactly.
And which you don't. So and this way we can give you the option to just go with the default, kind of just use it as it is. So default is still going to be like one click, install it, everything's good. But then if you're like, okay, wait a second, things aren't working, you can disable secure DNS. It will start getting that information from the system itself, and then you can configure your secure DNS there and verify that configuration. Also thinking about kind of a system where Portmaster will warn you if secure DNS is enabled and it doesn't detect a secure DNS resolver configured in the system. So we'll try to kind of give you a heads up, like, wait, you disabled that, but you didn't configure it in the system. Is that what you wanted? And you just go click yes, and that's that. Or you can be like, oh, thanks, I apparently messed something up. Let me check that again. So we still want to kind of help you any way we can on your privacy journey. We're not like, you're on your own now. But we kind of really want to like have Portmaster help you in any way possible to further help you on your privacy journey, and also combine the tools you need for your threat model. And that's what we're thinking about elections, and we're going, and we'd be grateful for feedback on that. What you think about that. What are your experiences with DNS? Would you like that because DNS is iffy for you? Or is your DNS working great and you don't care? It would be great kind of to get some feedback on this. And
in general, like we have a lot of people using very wild DNS out there, and we don't have very good information about which DNS actually works best. We tend to recommend Cloudflare, not because it's a super private option, but because it's very fast and
it's
typically stable
kind of
as well. And people who are complaining about, Portmaster makes stuff slower, usually it's DNS, and usually they don't use Cloudflare. And they use some weird DNS, which is on the other side of the world. And of course, if you're every time you want to resolve connection, need to go have a connection first, go across half of the planet, that takes time. Even though it's very fast and the internet is very fast, it takes some time. So it is. There's
and we actually have started with some shenanigans. So that's what you see. Kind of if your DNS gets too slow for too long, Portmaster will suggest and be like, hey, do you want to turn on the a bit more how do I say that? Aggressive DNS cache.
See, I would say it would say in reverse. I would say a little bit more like lenient and a little bit more because it doesn't care about time to live that much.
Yeah, so
that's the main
thing. It will
thing.
just give you old responses until the new one is there because 99.9% it's gonna be the same IP anyway. Just in the weird case that it's not, things could get weird, but.
And then they get really weird because typically the browser caches it as well. So Portmaster gives a cached response to the browser. The browser caches that response as well. And then you have caches all the way down.
And then you get super weird errors.
Yeah.
Because of like, wait, what? The certificate error? Is that a different domain? Did I mistype it? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And then
I ran into that once.
What is going on? So, that's why I chose the word aggressive. You chose lenient. Whatever your take on this is, that's kind of the shenanigan we started with DNS because sometimes it just was too slow for reasons. And yeah, it's really hard to know, like, because it depends on like your system, how that is set up, how many DNS queries you'd make, where you are, where your DNS server is, which DNS server you have. There's so many variables in all this. It's really hard to kind of test and reproduce issues with DNS. So yeah, that's why we're like, okay, let's start with shenanigans to kind of improve this. I think it has.
Yeah.
For most people that do that, but it's kind of not exactly according to internet standards, and we know that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But others are ignoring it as well. It's not just that, like, being aware of the internet standards is not something that most, like, and ignoring them, this is common practice, I guess, on the internet.
It is a common practice to both be ignorant of them and actively ignoring them. But it's a good thing to actually also respect them and know them, and because things should work better then.
That is true. In theory.
In theory.
Yeah, but the difference between theory and practice is,
I know. Okay.
In practice, yeah, whatever. Mike J said he is using Portmaster default with Cloudflare at the moment, and everything works. And in the past, he has been using like different DNS settings, and he had issues with it and complications. Yeah, this is what we see. This is what we see the most. We used to have Quad 9 because it is more privacy respecting as the default, and we saw so many issues with it. And we even have been in contact with them, and it is better now, but we don't feel comfortable enough putting them back as default at the moment. Maybe this will change. We don't check it very frequently. I guess you can say once per year-ish. So every now and then.
It really depends on where you are too. So it's really
that is so true. Yeah. And Cloudflare just has resources. They are everywhere, for better and worse. Okay, super cool, interesting. So what I wanted to add in regards to compatibility and what you were saying, we have been accused in the past of pushing people towards SPN. This is not, we feel strongly that SPN is the best privacy option. I want to make this clear, but we understand that SPN is a premium option, which is not doable for everybody. So Portmaster free is free, not just is free because we believe privacy is important, and that is also why we believe there are other options out there which are less privacy respecting but are cheaper, and we understand that, and we want to be compatible with it. We're not 100% sure. Currently, we're saying this is a plus feature. And partly the reason for that also is that we want to give Plus users, people who are supporting us, something in return, so that they see they are helping the development of Portmaster. This is what we keep on saying. But this is a feature we're thinking of that makes sense for everybody, because we actually don't want to gate stuff like this. But we want the people who are actually helping us do the things see a benefit of that as well, and have something in there. And on the contrary side, something that I keep started saying to people on the GitHub, we do, as a reminder, we do have an open collective, If you want a feature in the Open Collective where people can contribute directly to that feature, port scan detection is the feature that comes to my mind, which is on there. There are a couple, but port scan detection, for instance, you can donate today towards that feature, and whoever implements it will get some, not all. We'll take the famous 30% cut. No, but we will actually do the code review. We'll do the planning.
Yeah.
But
also just don't start working on this.
Of course, no.
We
but
absolutely have to
integrate that.
Come on terms first.
Yes. Yeah. But the idea is that the features which have been donated to with Open Collective will be in the free version. So if you care about a feature a lot, and if you think you have thousands of people who care about it as well, let us know. We'll add features to that as a project, and this will be fairly easy. And the idea is to help you vote on features with a donation, and those will be free from the get-go. And also, if you're a developer and you're interested and you see the money in the Open Collective, reach out to us and we can talk something through. And that money is not, we don't consider it as saving money, we consider it as Portmaster money, which is different in that Portmaster as an open source project is not just us, but we are in charge of keeping track that everything is aligned, everything works, and that the code quality is good. So in the end, we will take responsibility for that code, of course,
as well. And continue to maintain it.
And continue to maintain
fix bugs and all that stuff. So
exactly.
Make sure it also works in the future. Yeah.
But if you're interested in stuff like that, let us know. I can't recall which request it was, but I mentioned that to somebody. Hey, you have 3 options: either wait till we eventually do it, donate, or do it yourself. Those are the options you have. Either we do it because we think it's a cool idea, you do it, or because you actually want it, or and that's the beauty of open source and the open source community. And we're glad for feedback. We're glad if people are telling us what they want, and we go in the speed and in the direction we feel comfortable with. That's how it has been working.
We think that gives the most benefit to our users, and of course, benefit also means that the software is stable and the software is maintained, and that also means striking a very difficult balance, kind of how we got things that we want to give to everyone for free because we think it's important, and kind of doing convenience features that are paid for because all the free users, we want to give the free users also maintain software, but that's also costly. It's kind of difficult and very interesting choices to make here, running an open source software business. There are loads of ideas and concepts about how to do that, and a lot of companies fail attempting that.
Sure.
Doing open source software and actually having a successful business in the terms of it doesn't die.
But which is of course cool. If you have been looking at the Portmaster, it has been on there for quite some time now. We have reached through the last 3 months the 100% funding goal, which is super cool. And it looks to be like this, of course. That does not allow us to hire the Android developer and stuff like that. So we will update this hopefully within the next week to reflect what we need to actually hire the new Android developer and stuff like that. So you can keep your eyes on that blog post, or maybe it will be a new edition again. We'll see. Yeah. Have you read Madlad's comment? Because you were already going into that. No, I will rephrase it. Madlad was asking about bandwidth usage and why the visibility of it is not in the free version. And basically what we kept on, and there's a blog post about this, but what we are currently feeling is free is privacy, plus is convenience and stuff like that. And then pro is SPN upgrade, and maybe in the future some other stuff will be pro exclusive as well. But basically the service stuff is in pro, which actually has an ongoing cost. So this is how we feel about it. And yeah, so that's it. Plus is all the convenience stuff in there, and free is basically what we consider necessary for privacy. Which, of course, in a paradox way, like disabling secure DNS is not actually required for privacy because it would reduce privacy, and this going back to the main topic for today. But of course, like if it prevents you from using something else that would increase your privacy potentially again,
it's super weird.
It is super weird.
It's kind of super weird because we're kind of developing something that lets you turn off a feature.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, can we sell that? Is that that's weird.
No, but that's of course, and that's the reason why I said it would be a plus feature for the beginning, probably because we want to give plus people something in return, but this will eventually end up in the free version as well.
Yeah,
I'm fairly sure about this. There would need something. Yeah,
we'll see how it goes anyway. So that was.
When can people expect that? Just because we haven't talked about this, currently there's nothing in beta, I think.
At the moment, nothing in beta. So we're actually currently. So this was just kind of something we wanted you to know for future planning. That's why I spent, I think, 1 or 2 days just kind of getting a proof of concept there, just looking, is this possible? So we can start exploring that path early. So currently we're actually working on getting the syncing, but we're up and running. So you can synchronize all your settings with a local directory and then sync that directory with your favorite file synchronization tool.
Nextcloud,
SyncThing, to name the common open source variants of that.
You can just use a USB stick, of course, as well.
You could theoretically just use a USB stick and manually carry it over and copy things.
Sure, why not?
Human copy, human sync.
If you have a device that is offline, typically.
But they're like
would work.
A plethora of options to sync files. So we're like, we're gonna just let you use your favorite tool because that's just easiest, and then you can have that in your backups and everything, and all's good. So we're gonna just sync all your settings, global settings, app settings, everything with a local directory, and then you can sync that to your other PC, set up sync and port master there, and then keep all your settings in sync. So if you edit a setting of a app profile on one of your devices, it gets synced automatically to the other. So that's kind of what's currently in progress. I hope we can get it into beta really, really soon.
Next week.
Well,
that's too soon. Okay.
Maybe.
Okay, so January, maybe start of February.
On the core concept. Okay. It could go really fast after that, or not.
Okay.
It's really hard to estimate that at the point where I am right now.
Okay. But just as a reminder, we don't release on Fridays.
It's weeks and not months.
Oh yeah.
So it's fairly soon.
Yeah. Q1.
Yeah, definitely. So that's gonna come out fairly soon. Get that into beta, get people using that, and then we'll kind of explore our next options. Like look at if they're like something we should look into Portmaster.
Yeah.
So we will reorient after that and see like how we continue. But yeah, we'll continue working on this. This is gonna be one of the next things out there, improving compatibility. And one option to do this is to make security DNS kind of give you the option to disable it. So that's kind of why we're bringing it up today, to get feedback from you on that, if you think that's a great idea or if you think that's a bad idea. And tell us what you think about that and what your experience with Portmaster security DNS is.
Mike said don't release on Fridays, and we typically don't. If you see that, if you update on Friday, we can do anything about it, but we typically don't. Also a good reminder, we had the Windows 7 issue where the UI does not work on Windows 7 anymore, and it has been sort of a surprise for us as well. We don't test on Windows 7. We weren't expecting it to break compatibility with Windows 7, but basically what we relied on to display the UI that they stopped compatibility with Windows 7. So by extension, we did as well. There is a workaround. You can find it on the GitHub. But if you are on a distribution which is end of life or something like that, or has been end of life, and you want us to keep supporting that, please consider joining the beta release channel to tell us about this. Yeah. None of our beta testers have told us about this because they are all not on Windows 7. And I understand. I mean, I'm asking somebody who is on a device with an operating system that's, I think, 4 or 5 years end of life already, to have a beta software of something else. Typically not the same person. I'm a cutting edge person. I'm early adopter as much as it can be most of the time, you know? So Windows 7 has been replaced with Windows 8 basically at the first possible time, which, I was a Windows Vista person as well, so that's all I'm going to say here. And switch to Windows 7 very fast, of course, as well. Early adopter. Not always the easiest life to live, but I like seeing stuff and experiencing new stuff. And same with Portmaster. Like, if you're interested in where Portmaster is going and if you want to give us feedback, consider being in the beta channel, especially if you know you're an edge case. That could be interesting to us as well. Yeah,
because if you're on beta and breaks, you can always switch back to stable. Tell us about it, and then we can investigate. Because if it's unstable already, it's a lot it's not easy to impossible for you to roll back in our releasing model, because it's important to always have everyone up to date, because Portmaster is a security software, is a privacy software, and it's absolutely crucial for you to get the updates.
We've been a little bit. How did we land it here?
I don't know. We talked about MATLab's comment about
Portmaster
features and Portmaster.
And I wanted to ask. So 1.7 will be the synchronization stuff.
I think 1.7 will.
That is the plan. Yes, this will get a blog post and probably an email newsletter as well. I'm very bad in writing the email newsletters at the moment, I know. But apparently people are still signing up for it. So I will do an email newsletter in the near future. I hope we don't get on any spam lists because Gmail changed some stuff, but that scares me a little bit.
I think we're good.
I think so too. Okay, so email newsletter, blog post 1.7. Regarding the DNS thing, will this be included in 1.7? Do you want to fit that in? No. Okay, so
we just did a proof of concept.
We need to clarify this.
We don't even have a proof of concept for Linux yet.
Yeah. And we want
Linux
to keep.
Will be a lot easier.
We
think. But I've already read on the documentation there, and it seems to be a lot easier and a lot more clear and how the path forward looks like. On Windows, I always have to try first before I believe it actually works, because there's so much documentation
and conflicting documentation sometimes.
And so many. I'd rather have Windows tested first before I believe it.
Yeah, I understand. Let me ask, are we then relying on something related to systemd? Will systemd become...
For Linux, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so that will be a requirement. There are distros. There are distros out there which are not based on, which don't use systemd.
That is true, but if you're not using systemd, then DNS requests probably go either raw out to the network anyway, and Portmaster can intercept them.
Yeah.
So it's a non-issue anyway. We just have to implement us actually doing the packet inspection on DNS requests instead of intercepting them. So that's something we'd have to look into. But systemd is the reason. The thing that systemd is doing is that processes using the standard OS integration libraries, I will call them as a high-level concept, don't actually do DNS requests. They actually send a message to the to systemd resolve D, which is the DNS client of systemd, over kind of the system message system. So the system has their own messenger where applications talk to each other.
Everything is just files.
Secretly. No, it's just a socket file. Yeah. So they have their own chat room, and the system services. There's kind of all the services and all the applications on your Linux have their own chat server, which is called the dbus. And there are like certain rooms that only certain applications go into, and they can then chat with each other. And their applications ask the system for resolving DNS. It does it and then replies in that chat room, which of course Portmaster doesn't see. But what we can do is just that. We can also enter that chat room and just wiretap the DNS chat room and see what applications are asking for what DNS and just read that information, so we can get that. But if we're not using systemd, DNS doesn't go over the chat room. DNS goes raw, as we're used to since the beginning of the internet, or a bit later, because DNS got introduced just a bit after that. So we can look at the raw DNS packets anyway. So Linux should stay fully compatible, but I think like pretty much everyone is a systemd, right? Like how many?
I don't know. I just know that there are.
Rogue
there is.
are resisting.
Nick did a video about it. That's the reason why I know.
Okay.
And about what people are thinking about systemd. The same with Wayland. He had a couple of over the change of the year, a couple of, I don't know if it's hot topics, but bigger topics from the Linux community.
Resistance is futile.
I know. Well then, Matlet asks if we're working on something AI related, like analyzing network traffic, safety scores, and stuff like that. You're heavy breathing. What's going on?
I'm like, well, I think it could be a nice thing. In order to do this in Portmaster, everything would have to run locally. We think that nobody will just send us all their traffic.
We should, yeah.
I really hope nobody does that.
Yeah.
We don't want it. It's all yours.
Yeah.
We don't want to see it.
GDPR nightmare.
And that's the way it should stay.
Yeah.
So that means that whole language model, or like whatever AI machine learning thing,
network model,
has to be on the machine and then kind of do stuff on there. And
exactly, how would it be trained, on what data?
Yeah.
How would we update it?
And what's the actual value proposition of that? Like, what value does it bring? Of course, there are a couple of use cases that I can think of that would be cool.
Yeah.
But the question is that possible? How much resource did it take? Like, do you have to have a dedicated graphics card then if you want to use that feature? Stuff like that.
Run it locally.
Yeah,
no.
Things get complicated really fast.
Yeah. I mean, what he's saying in regards to safety score, a safety score typically, that's something that other programs already do, like email stuff where they assign a score depending on different metrics.
Yeah.
We have thought about stuff like that, and we thought about a report, a weekly-ish report, where Portmaster actually gives you recommendations. Mm-hmm. And some companies might call this AI, and some companies might tell you this sort of stuff. We like to not call things intelligent if they're just algorithms doing stuff.
And if else chain is not an AI.
What?
An if else chain
is not an AI.
Some companies forget that. But it's really not.
Yeah, exactly. So we would probably not call it AI. But I know that we're bad about not using the keywords and the hot topic stuff. We have not been, when we actually thought about doing stuff with blockchain, we never mentioned blockchain, because it's like, this was back in the day, the hot topic word, and we were like, it's not a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, it was in the phase where we weren't sure if the making blockchain is good or bad
Oh,
for
that's true as
applying
well.
for grants? Like, do they like blockchain?
No.
Like,
But-
how come all of the whole scam era? So,
Exactly.
like,
Yeah, exactly. And that's where stuff like that, when even if the technology is cool, using the buzzword is typically not where we go at. So we would probably call it network traffic scoring or something like that, and not call it AI.
But we have thought about like how can we,
Yeah.
especially now that we have the history module, how can we kind of analyze that data?
Yeah.
And there are like a couple things that
Locally.
of course, everything locally. There are a couple things that kind of traditional network analysis tools do. So kind of looking at what changed, like what website did we see for the first time? Were
Countries.
there a lot of network errors?
Yeah.
Like did traffic to any country jump by a major percentage?
Yeah.
Kind of just using normal kind of just database queries to answer like really simple questions.
Yeah.
And now that we have the history data in an SQLite database on your device, we can start utilizing that for these reports and sending a kind of creating these reports on a weekly basis within Portmaster and then kind of presenting them to you in some way. That's definitely something that we're thinking about. I think like something like that is on the roadmap at the moment.
We have been talking about this for quite some time.
Yeah,
I don't know
we've
if we
often talked
publicly
about it. Yeah, whatever.
Communicated it.
So
We'll see.
the thought is definitely there to kind of
Yeah. Give more tools.
give more tools, be smart to
Yeah.
kind of utilize the data.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be machine learning.
Yeah. What won't be in there, just so people know, because we have been asked this so many times, virus total integration. For anybody who does not know, this always means that you share all your network traffic with Google. Virus total is Google, isn't it?
Well, normally, but I don't know what you're referring to right now, but
Like if I look up for
virus
every
total
network connection.
can do different things.
Yeah.
So traditionally, virus total
But they
was
would-
for malware samples. You would
Yes.
actually upload a program that is then shared to all partners of
Yeah.
virus total, which is 60 plus companies all over the world. So whatever you thought you were like privately using at that point, you're not using it privately anymore. And the other thing you can do is you can look up domains and stuff like that.
Exactly. And then you query, of course, the domain and look at the information and stuff that's out there.
s-
And this is typically like
Yeah,
you
you're-
would
you're
send
sharing
that
your
info.
traffic, yeah.
Exactly.
So-
And this is not cool. So this integration will not be part of it. Not in the near future. If the demand is high enough and if enough people tell us they actually really, really, really want that, we think it's a privacy nightmare. Nightmare. I'm not kidding. But it will be off by default. This I will absolutely tell you right now. But an integration, of course, like if you want to share your data, we are for freedom. You can do with your data as you want.
Yeah, maybe that could be kind of one of these features that goes through Open Collective.
Oh yeah,
So
sure,
like,
maybe.
We're not so sure about that one, but if
You
you
need to
really,
pay us to
really
do
want
that.
to pay us to do it, okay.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Two other things just to wrap up. I'd like to catch up comments which have been added. Alfaxo said, meanwhile, he's having some troubles with System D and in bracket Stalker. I wish you well. Figuring that out. Good luck. And also Mike said, blockchains. The new buzzword is distributed ledger.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so we could.
That's true. It's a lot more. It sounds a lot better.
So
more
this-
trustworthy.
Are you saying that our sync setting is creating a distributed ledger
Yes.
of your Portmaster settings? You know,
Yeah.
of your Portmaster
we
profiles.
just run a git commit on it every time we change something, so it actually is a distributed ledger.
That would not be too bad because then, of course, you have versioning as well,
Yeah,
which we don't,
technically correct.
which we don't do at the moment. Which is why we are like only syncing it towards a folder, so you can do the versioning with whatever software you want to do. You can
Not
do
sure.
the.
That's I don't think we haven't thought about that case in that way, or I haven't.
With Nextcloud, I'm always thinking about it in
That's a very
Nextcloud.
interesting thing.
And Nextcloud, of course, has versioning.
It won't work like that because of if you like roll back an old file, Portmaster will see it's old and will just replace it with the newer version it has. So we probably need another mechanism to kind of
you can go back and look at it.
Yeah, you can open the file and import it into
exactly.
Yeah, that's why it works.
And then I can write a wiki page about it
but
if
that
you
also
really
means
want
that
to.
We should definitely use YAML anyway on that too. Yeah.
Sure.
That's true.
I thought
no.
Okay, we'll see.
It depends. Like there's a difference if you're like knowingly exporting to a human, or if you're exporting to a directory that's automatically synced somewhere else. There's a different expectation as who will look at it.
That is true. That's true.
But yeah, that's a good interesting idea. But that also means that but if you're not implying that the directory we're syncing into should be organized in a way that makes sense, which is right now we can just see IDs. You'll have to do a full text search on that to find something.
Sure, all is well.
But,
you don't have to optimize for that.
Yeah,
it's just funny seeing you think about like how I would use it, like giving you one use case.
Well, it's not a use case we've covered so far.
That is true. It is a new use case.
Designing that thing that someone would try to roll back from the think.
But you can also roll back the whole system, import the whole thing, delete the old one, import the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. You can
just... And then extract the one thing and then put it back, roll to the new one and then put back the new one. There are versions
we should kind of...
Not optimize for that.
After we have the first version, we should kind of document a workflow that lets you do that.
Yeah, but it's not the primary use case, and so we should not do it. If you're doing a change in your Portmaster, it will get synced, and you should expect it to be synced. And if you enable the feature, we are sometimes thinking a lot of how we can protect the users from making mistakes, which of course is a good thing. But you can't protect everybody from everything. If a setting is toggled, then there's an intention behind it.
Yeah.
You can ask once, and there's one setting which are very persistent, and people have been asking us to remove that persistency. We'll see. Maybe we do. Setting? The force block incoming connections globally.
Oh, that's a really important one.
I know. That's the reason why we are very persistent, telling people please re-enable that. But
we've got a tad more lax on that one.
About the notification, but not the persistency.
Not the thing. Yeah.
I think it's once per week now.
I think, but once per week, and there's a special condition. I think if you're in development mode or something, it doesn't. Or there's some mode you can be in where it doesn't at all not nag you anymore.
But for everybody who's then reaching out to me, if I see developer mode in the debug information, I immediately consider this the user's problem. I'm so sorry. But if I see developer, I'm like, you have been too deep and you have changed stuff. I will not even try figuring out what you changed. If it's not immediate, I will help you help yourself, but I cannot find a solution, because if you're in developer mode, I assume you have tweaked stuff beyond what a typical user does. And that's so hard to troubleshoot.
And beyond what we can possibly see too.
Yeah, so, exactly. Because the debug information is very limited on purpose. Sharing as little information as possible for privacy to stay high, even while giving support. But of course, that in return means if you're in developer mode, I have freak on clue what's going on there. So yeah, just as a little side note there.
Yeah, people just start disabling just before they send the debug info, and then
that if they watch the live stream, they can tell me so. I love that. I know this is interaction, but I feel like the people who are in there, they think they don't need to watch the live stream anyway. Yeah. So the people who watch us here rambling on for an hour, very special to us, and we like you.
You're probably a lot more engaged anyway.
Exactly, and more forgiving to our weirdness, which we sometimes bring with us.
Oh yes.
At least that's what we expect. Otherwise, I'm not sure why you're still watching, or why you keep coming back. But we love that. We love that community. Cool. Okay, we're almost through with the time. There are no open questions. If you have some, please write them in, and we might address them now. Otherwise,
or next live stream.
Or next live stream. That's true. Otherwise, do you have something you want to add?
No. I think we talked about the whole "it's always DNS" thing.
That's true.
So looking forward to hearing back from you about that. So we can kind of include your thoughts into our planning and road mapping, and so that's I think all I wanted to get out today. Other than that, as always, if you like what we're doing and aren't yet subscribed, that's the way you can support us and help us make safing a sustainable business. November and December has been great. So we're right now, last quarter of last year was 101% of our costs covered by revenue. That's just amazing. We're still really, really happy about that. Of course, that was a spike from the YouTube video in November from the PC Security channel.
That's true.
And that's gonna go a little back over the next months, but don't be discouraged. We still hope that everything's gonna just continue to grow at the steady pace that has been for the last many months. So we'll reach final sustainability soon. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then
we'll
Android developer.
Yeah, exactly. First thing, when you have the money, Android developer. So looking forward to that. And I think you are too. Yeah,
because we understand mobile is important. We do.
Definitely.
We do.
And so,
we listen.
But we'll definitely update the current numbers and kind of give a short explanation on that February 1st.
Alfexo had a cool idea that we should lift off. Yeah, and I think MadLad is doing a +1 on that. A fun fact at the end of the live streams. Fun fact.
Do you have one? Do you have a fun fact about safing?
Yeah. Do you have one? Something fun? I don't know. It's a very cool thing. I think maybe a fun fact. I'll just share that because I always try to tell people how I like talking with people from the community directly. I think I've met 5 people from the safing community already, and from 3 different continents. So very cool. I think that's a fun fact. I like that. Meeting people is always fun. Seeing who uses Portmaster, who supports Portmaster, and that development and stuff like that.
What that makes that fact fun or funny? Because we're a privacy company and all of our users love privacy, but then you still have people that are like, yeah, sure, let's meet.
Yeah. Or do a video call or something.
So
it's also fun. Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah. So.
And of course, this is a sort of a one-sided video call as well, where we're like,
very one-sided.
Well, that's true.
Well, we do chat, and there is conversation.
There is conversation.
But we have no idea who you are, where you are, what you look like.
That is true.
But that's how we like it.
That's also true. But the fun fact is, I love that some people are reaching out, and then if they're on travels through Austria, that's typically how that works. And we're fairly close to the Vienna airport as well. I mean, this always depends. In Austria, close would typically stop at 10 minutes with car. I know that in the States, close is around 2 hours drive. The airport is a half-hour drive from here. But on the turnover, I sometimes meet people and have a cup of coffee and talk. It is sometimes a little bit weird. I can tell you all that. And if you're watching, still love it. It's still cool. And I feel like that's just something where we see the Discord growing and stuff like that. It's 1,500 people on Discord. We are about 800 people, I think, subscribing on YouTube at the moment. It is super interesting how this is developing, but we just don't know where like people are, how they look like typically, and so it is fun if they reach out, and it's fun to see them and talk to them and interact, and this is fun, and that is extra fun. So very cool. Thank you all for joining in. We will be live in 2 weeks again. Have a good one.
Have a good one, and see you then. Bye.